Hey, buddy.
Hey, good morning.
Welcome to Wisconsin.
Welcome to Wisconsin. How's the weather up there?
Oh, it's beautiful.
I bet it is.
It's a little overcast here where I'm at. I'll be heading to Madison. It looks like, according to my phone, it's going to be a perfect day in Madison, 70s.
Yeah, it's starting
sunny.
out a little bit chilly.
Yeah, a little chilly. Yeah, the next few days, it's going to be in the 50s the next 5 or so days,
Yeah.
it looks like.
You want to go ahead and drop a well-known tip for those athletes coming out of the water in somewhat cool ambient temperatures to help reduce that chill on the bike?
Drop it, man.
Drop it. Plastic grocery bags. If you're doing Wisconsin or I've got an athlete doing Lake Placid 70.3 where it will also be hilly and cold. If you're kind of tossing in between, because here's the tough call is if you think about it, you've got flat courses, and when it's cool, it's going to take a little bit longer to heat up just because you're going to have that constant airflow. Wisconsin, you got at least a good 15 to 20 miles coming out before you get to any hills. So you're going to be a little bit cooler, but then once you get to the hills, obviously, it's going to take you a little bit longer to get up them. So the wind speed is down and the airflow is down, so your body gets to heat up a little bit quicker. But then you got the downhills. And so you got to kind of play that game of how do I stay cool? I don't want to overdress because there's nothing worse. Well, there's a lot of things that are worse.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things.
Should we list them?
Watching somebody with like a $12,000 bike, fancy aero helmet, riding their bike with like a gigantic Walmart windbreaker on. I can't think of it. I know there are things that worse, but you're going to see people. They're going to be cruising out with their fancy little, alien helmet on and their $10,000 bike and their disc wheels, and everything's going to be souped up. And then not only they're probably going to have like 19 water bottles loading it down, but with a Gatorade food truck, you're going to see them with like a bike vest or a windbreaker or a pullover and just like flapping in the wind. And a quick remedy for that, take 3 to 4 plastic grocery bags. If you're going to take 4, let's say you take 4, take 3 of them, put them inside one, and then after you get them in, kind of spread it out and put it in the shape of a rectangle. When you get out of the water, because in Madison, obviously you're going to run inside in one of those banquet rooms or a transition tent if you're at another race. Unzip your top if it's already up. If it's not, then you can put it there and zip it over it, and place the plastic bags on your chest. This is going to do 2 things. It's going to both heat up your core temp quicker with that extra insulation, and 2, it's going to block the wind. And then most importantly, 3, it's not going to be in the wind. And then you can dispose of that whenever you like at an aid station. And I think I did when I did Wisconsin. I've used this twice. I used it at Arizona in 2011. I used it at Wisconsin the year you and I did it in what I think was 16. And I think it was pretty close to same temps. I think when you and I did it,
mm-hmm.
And I did. I think it was mile like 40.
Yeah.
Before I ditched mine. And I will say, caveat: make sure you veer over a little bit to the right, as close as you can, and put it down close, because when I ditched mine at the aid station, I forgot that I was moving pretty quickly, and all I could picture behind me now was letting go of my plastic bags and it flying and smacks some guy in the face, like you see in cars and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It covers his aero helmet shield, and next thing you know, he can't see any wrecks. So just make sure you got it. But
I'd hand it to somebody, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if you can, hand it over. If not, crumple it up and put it down. You should be fine. But it's the best way to keep it. You'll warm up quick. You can keep it there, and it's even if you start to get a little bit warm, it's not like your whole torso is covered and your arms aren't covered. And if you're really thinking about being chilly, then that is easily the way to go. Oh, you know what? I used it at Texas.
I was gonna say, dude, I use it every fall race. I think even at Louisville last year, and I don't know if I'd used arm warmers, but if you're really worried about being cold, you can use arm warmers, and it's perfect.
It's perfect to wear no brainer, arm warmers and plastic grocery bags over a windbreaker or a wind jacket or whatever you want to call it. But I used the plastic bags at Texas 70.3, and I actually kept them on the entire ride. I never took them out until I got to transition because it was that cold and that windy. So do that. A little quick tip off the go, and this is the Crushing Iron Triathlon Podcast, presented to you by Nike.
Oh boy!
I just thought I'd throw that in there.
No,
ruffle people's feathers this morning. We're gonna see burning C26 shirts in the streets in Madison.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's oh man. Anyway,
we're
brought to you by AutoWares.
Brought to you by AutoWares. We're gonna swoosh on over to a different subject.
Yeah.
But yeah, good luck to everyone. It looks like I think Ryan Richards is his name, the race director at Wisconsin, has done an incredible job. And the last I looked yesterday, there is no change to the swim, no change to the run, but there is a small change to the first 3 and the last 3 miles of the bike.
That's exactly what I heard. It must be that little path.
Yeah, I think it's just taking like a different route of the path. But let's be honest, that part is like pointless. And honestly, if they can make it any like smoother and straight with like not a no passing zone, it's actually faster.
True. That path is it's really all it is it's a good way to force you to slow down out of the gate a little bit, because it is a little complicated. Not complicated, but yeah, it's a single file deal for about, I don't know, a mile or so.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I thought, is it's because I think there's water in there, and that's probably where they're getting screwed over. Because I'm sure the road coming out of the helix is okay. I'm not sure, but I'm guessing. I'll know in about 5 hours when I get up there. I'm gonna start doing some reporting from on the scene.
Ooh, I like it. I'm already excited for it.
Are you? Yeah. I thought that would be cool, and I thought maybe even if you've got a little time tomorrow, we could do a short little bonus cast from what I've seen and what I've heard and kind of the latest updates or something.
I'm gonna give you a solid maybe.
Solid maybe.
No, I'm not giving you a no. But we head out to Chattanooga around 11, and I got to take Hayden into daycare, and then it won't come back to the house. So if I did, it'd have to be remote. But let's not count. But we'll toss it out as a soft maybe.
Okay.
And that's like a me maybe, not like that guy or girl who when they say yes, it's really a maybe. When they say maybe, it's a no, and then when they say no, it's like a hell no. So my maybe is a legit maybe.
Okay. And
you're thinking like a 15 to 20 minute, right?
Either way, I'll be putting up a bunch of stuff in our closed group, which is Crushing Iron Group. The search term is Crushing Iron Group on Facebook. That's the closed Crushing Iron Group, and that's where most of the action happens.
Lots of action. Action Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it looks like that's going to go off without a hitch. Hopefully, keep our fingers crossed for everyone. And I was thinking about this yesterday as I read the update. We're going to have 7 athletes there in Wisconsin, and obviously, like race week, you tend to field like a lot more emails and texts from athletes, especially if it's their first one. And I was looking over like the changes in the course, and I was like, I wonder what people would freak out the most about and be the most pissed about: a canceled swim or a longer swim.
A longer swim? Where'd that come from?
Well, let's say that the only reason we can have the swim is if we move the swim start to this other side, and it's actually going to be 3 miles instead of 2.4. But we can still do. But it's either do the 3 mile swim or no swim at all. Because
is that just a hypothetical, or are you hearing?
Yeah. That's
okay.
not. I'm not hearing that. I'm just saying hypothetical.
But what? That's a good. I mean, I think that'd be an interesting question. But my thought, and has anybody have you seen anybody? Because the water is up on the shore, and I think that would that's totally going to make a rolling start a nightmare. My thought was, I wonder if they would have to go back to a mass start, because that seems like the most logical solution right now.
Oh man, I would. Yeah, I'm sure that everybody would quit.
I mean, because I mean, it would just be like so much less stress, I would think, because they've got water all over the shoreline, up in that park and the grassy area, and if they just said, "Hey, go on in, float for about 20 minutes, and then take off,"
Yeah.
I don't think they can. I don't know if they. I mean, I suppose they could pull it together, but
Why not? Get you. Everybody has to be in the water by so and so. The gun's gonna go off, and then see you later.
man, when you put it that way, it just sounds so simple and pretty.
It is so simple and pretty, but we've gone into that ad nauseum about 28 times on
I know, but
the last
it's like, here's
195
my last sliver of
podcasts.
hope, man.
It is, but yeah, who knows? Like, get in the water, and or the only way for us to do the race today is if you do the mass start, or you can still do the race, and you cross the finish line, and you can still get your medal, but you're just gonna know that you didn't swim. How many people would take that route?
Oh man, you can't take that route if you're a human
People
being,
would.
can you?
Guarantee you, people would. Guarantee it, people would.
Man, just start in the back and off to the side. The mass start's fine. Anyway, I know you're right. We have talked about that, but I mean, sometimes when you get on a high horse, it's tough to get off.
Listen, you're right. I'm living half my life's on a high horse, and the other half's in the manure. I either tend to be way up on the high horse or way down in its manure. So I need to hover around more of the stirrups.
Oh, hey, yeah. Hey, look, I'll be on the Crushing Iron YouTube page. I have posted a explainer video for transition at Wisconsin, and a lot of people have actually gotten a hold of me about that and told me thank you.
Transition tips?
Yeah, have you seen it?
I did take a look at it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not tips as much as it explains how the flow of the internal, changing rooms inside the whatever that place is called.
Banquet hall, convention center, whatever.
Yeah. It kind of shows how you come down to the water, how you get out of the water, run up, and where you go into this building, and where the bags are, and where you change, and how you run out, and then it looks at the bike transition a little bit. This is a little something. I think over the years we'll pick up a lot of views because Madison Transition's a little bit unique in that regard. It's a lot unique from what I've seen. Maybe some others are like it, but
I think they're all kind of unique in their own way. But I definitely think with anytime you have to go inside a building, and then you got the whole. I mean, I would say it's definitely one of the more unique in terms of the bike transitions in a parking garage, and you go inside a building. You come in. I think it's pretty cool.
The one thing I didn't add to that I wanted to, but I forgot, is when you come back off the bike ride, because I was thinking about this actually when it's a tough bike course, and by the time you get done, you're a little bit fried, of course, and certainly on my first one I didn't know, but you come back up this windy helix back to the top of the. So you come up that, and it's not nearly as bad as it sounds. But when you get, I wasn't sure what to do with my bike. You know what I mean? I wasn't sure what was going to happen once I got back there. And right when you get back to the top of the helix, you just sort of like turn to the right, and kind of go down a little bit of a hill. And there's bike catchers all over, and they just take your bike and walk it all the way back up there because it's the thought of even, I know you don't have to rack at a lot of places, and they do that, but they catch you right at the top of the helix pretty much, and then you just walk right into T2 and change up and get on your run. Yep. It's pretty sweet.
It is pretty sweet. Anytime they do that and they hand it over, it's always a good thing. But yeah, so good luck to everybody racing in Madison, and I think St. Cruz. So Santa Cruz 70.3 is this weekend. Like Plaza 70.3 is this weekend, and a whole other, I'm sure, tons of races all over the country and world that we are mentioning. I know some marathons and a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, and somebody I saw mentioned in the closed group is like, why not? Why don't we give love to certain other races? We kind of do focus on Wisconsin, Chattanooga, and Louisville. Those have been the ones that we're most familiar with, and as we go, and we're branching out slowly, under control, but we'll be getting into some other areas and some other races over the next years. And I just wanted to point that out because we do kind of focus on those, but that's on purpose because those are the ones we know the best.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, that's true. And I think I saw that comment. It was about Ironman Maryland.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. Like, we do also like to talk about races that have a lot of like things that are a little more different and challenging in certain aspects. And Maryland, I would definitely say that the swim is probably the most challenging aspect of that race, which also makes it interesting. But and I think and also, which is, I think human nature. If I only have one athlete doing Ironman Maryland versus, a lot doing the other ones, and we're just not as familiar with it. So we like to, we don't really know what we're talking about anyway, but at least we remotely kind of can pretend like we know what we're talking about with Wisconsin and Louisville and Chattanooga and even some of the other ones. So,
You are what you experience.
Yeah, we like to stick to our comfort zone. So I know I've had some athletes quite a few actually express interest in doing Ironman Maryland next year. So you could definitely put it on you can definitely put it on my maybe list of races that we're going to cover. But yeah, and obviously, like you said, we'll be diving a little more into the nuts and bolts of races coming up, like Chattanooga and Louisville that are here in the South, and we have a lot of athletes doing it, and we'll be at both those events. And so, yeah, good luck to everybody, and continue here. Let us know how things are going. I love getting emails and Facebook messages from people who have been listening, and with lots of kind words. So that's much appreciated. And if you'd like, you can always hit us up on iTunes, leave us a review. We're getting close to 200, so I think we're at 197. So let us know what you think. Subscribe and download, and then you can also always head over to crushingiron.com to check out everything else we do, from the podcast to some of Mike's awesome videos, gear, coaching and training plans, camps, the blog, swim analysis, you name it. It's kind of our one-stop shop. So head on over there for any other questions, or if you need anything else, you can always hit up Mike at crushingiron@gmail.com or myself at c26coach@gmail.com.
Why do I still hear, like, when you say that, if you have any complaints, hit up Mike.
That's right. If you have any complaints, or you just hate everything we do, please reach out to Mike at crushingiron@gmail.com, and he'll forward that to me, and I'll never respond. Something like that. But no. So do you have something to lay into today, or do you want me to toss one up?
Yeah, you can toss. I mean, I'm sort of in that faux 2-3 days before the race mode mentally. I'm just thinking about
even though you're not racing.
Even though I'm not racing, yeah, I'm heading to Madison. I'm gonna drive up the road about an hour and get situated. And I just, I'm excited to be around, watching athletes and meeting them and seeing what's on their mind. Because there's just, with every race, there's always questions and anxiety and anticipation and eagerness and all that sort of stuff. But now it feels like this race has a lot, there's a lot of unknowns going on right now, and I'm sure people are just super anxious to get up there and see, because it's like you hear all this stuff, and once you see what's going on, it kind of calms you down a little bit, just being around the vibe.
Yeah, but I think once athletes like leave check-in, I think they're like a totally different person.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Pre-check-in, like they got their stuff, and it's like, now it's real, but it's kind of real, but it's for sure real. And then
you start focusing on your putting stuff in your bags and things like that.
Yeah, and enjoying yourself, and doing stuff with the family, and so hopefully people take the time to do that. And listen, I am the biggest, if not one of the biggest fans of the early check-in. Get there, get it done, get away, and see you later. There's no need to
somebody asked me when to check in, and I said the minute you get into town,
ASAP. First
like
thing,
right when you park your car, just walk over to check in.
Yeah, do not pass go. If you're there today and it's a Thursday and you're listening to this podcast and you haven't checked in yet, go check in. Hit pause. will be here when you get back. So, but yeah, definitely that's the thing, especially because there's no check-in on Saturday, which I think is awesome. I know it makes it a little bit more difficult for athletes that have to travel or can only come in early, but most people I would imagine get in. There's 95% of people I would say probably get in Thursday or Friday. They have to get in Friday, I guess, if the check-in is Saturday, but just being able to get it and then get away from all the hoopla, and you're more than likely gonna walk back around and check things out Saturday. Well, guess what? It's all gonna look the same.
Yeah.
From the time you checked in on Thursday, the only thing that's gonna be different at the expo and check-in on Friday and Saturday is more people.
Mm-hmm.
More people, more time on your feet, more nervous energy, more nervous energy, and more temptation to walk up and buy one of those ridiculous laser arrow helmets right on the spot like everybody does. Don't do that. Get off your feet. Stick with what you know. Pack some snacks. I probably pack more food and snacks heading to a race than I do gear and other clothes. Stick with stuff you don't want to be making late trips or just like, hey, I need to find this and this and this. Like if you don't want to go looking for it, bring it with you. Portion things out in your Ziploc bag. Just make things really accessible and make things very simple. Because anytime you don't have something and you have to start to think, I wonder if I'm going to be able to get it or have it or where can I find it, you're just adding stress and you're adding more energy you have to expend to do things that should be fairly simple. Like you should go check in, you should go to your hotel room, and the only reason you should really have to leave is to grab a main meal like a lunch or a dinner.
I did notice that when we went to Ohio, man, you were stacked. You were stocked up, dude.
Stacked and locked and loaded, man. That's why the old Staybridge suite there in the Polaris Parkway area was money. Had your fridge, coffee maker, toaster, fridge. I mean, it was. But yeah, I'd locked and loaded things in Ziploc bags, and based on even days. Here's my Friday Ziploc bag. Here's my Saturday Ziploc bag. Everything I needed was in there. You just got to make sure that the things are there, and it makes life easier. Like I said, the more you can stay off your feet and chill in the confines and comfort of your own hotel room or Airbnb or whatever it is, the better off your race is going to be, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was hanging at Cabrillo's. Where was I hanging?
Cabrillo's. They're not going to be a sponsor.
Cabela's. They sponsor college football game day. I saw and I was laughing. I never even heard of them until that day, but now they're
dropping $88 on a freaking coffee mug.
Oh, man, that's been the worst investment of my life.
That's like stuff that's ridiculous. That and Yeti. I'm like, give me a break, people.
It was a Yeti.
It wasn't a Yeti. You're right, it was a Yeti.
Yeah, I bought that coffee. I swear, man, that thing is like, it's got nuclear physics inside of it or something because the coffee actually gets hotter. I think
Which is the worst thing ever.
I know. It's the worst thing ever.
What a racket.
I don't know.
And then people put stickers of coffee mug producers on their car. I don't get that either.
Well, they're coolers.
Even then, cooler. You know what? I'm gonna go get one of those freaking igloo stickers and put that on the back of my Kia and see how that rolls.
Yeah. While we're talking about stickers, if you want to stick C26 sticker, contact Robbie Krausen.
That's right. Yeah, plaster that over the top of your igloo cooler sticker.
That would be fun, man. Maybe I'll start putting weird stickers on my car like that. Not that that's weird, but that's like people.
It wouldn't be because you'd fit right in East Nashville.
That's true.
You'd become like the guy. But yeah, people. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big car sticker guy, but hey, nothing against them. Just they make coolers. I mean. Is that like a lifestyle? Is Yeti like a lifestyle brand?
Yeah, kind of. I think that's where they're going.
What's their keeping things cool
and hot? Keeping it hot.
Oh
keeping
man,
it fresh. That's the lifestyle.
Well, yep, and that's our podcast.
And that's it.
Wrap it up. Thanks for joining us.
Uh-huh.
Come back to you. No, I read an interesting. Like, this is timely, like somewhat timely, I guess. It probably post maybe next week or any week really, because honestly, like just as many athletes as are out there that are racing, a lot of athletes are what I would say, quote unquote, done with the racing that they're going to do within the 2018 season. And while it's kind of hard for some athletes, like if I look at, I think I've got maybe 30 or 40% of the athletes that I work with are what I would say they're not done with the season, but from a triathlon standpoint, they're done. They're doing maybe some half marathons or some full marathons late in the year, so things change up. But I was reading I posted this in our Crushing Iron closed group. Something else, if you're on Facebook, you want to be part of the conversation, you can search Crushing Iron Group, and we have a question in there. What do you like about the podcast or not like about the podcast? You can let us know there as well. We'll let you in. But I posted it. It's one of our friends and former guest, Steve Magness. And he wrote an article or whatever you want to call it, a blog, or called The Blame Game, how our reaction to failure influences future performance. And it is a great read. I posted there, so hopefully other people will read it. But I found one of the two things I found in coming from, like, because it's written for coaches and athletes, and there are kind of two things that I really took away from it as on both, since I'm a coach and an athlete all at the same time. On one of the very last paragraphs, he says, while recent external items might actually be the reasons for our failures, recognizing that is our default reaction, recognizing that this is our default reaction is important. Next time you see yourself doing this as a coach or an athlete, simply step back and ask if this is the true answer, or if your mind simply wants to be done with trying to figure this question out, so it'll accept anything you tell it as long as closure occurs. And I think that is super common with both athletes and coaches, and that's something that I struggle with too on both ends. Is I think we do, like, he also says, like, as human beings, we are inherently lazy creatures. So, like, we want to think about things, but we don't really want to think about things. Like, we want to make these big goals. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to read this, and I'm going to do this. I'm like, no, you're not. Let's be real. Come on. Kind of like, and it's not, sometimes it's not lazy. It's just like, let's just be real about it. And something that he talks about here is, like, when you get done with a bad race or a great race, like, we really sometimes don't want to think about what really the cause was. We just want to give ourselves an excuse or a quick affirmation and then stick to it. Because, like, diving so much deeper, well, then we have to, like, put energy and work into it to figure out why we didn't succeed or why we did succeed. Or is it just coming, or even if it's like an answer we don't like, at least it's an answer we can move on, and that's what we can tell people. And I found that, and it is sometimes as a coach, it's difficult as well, because and he talks about the story in your head, which is, we all know, like, the story, you and I could go to, like, out to coffee and then go do something together, and then what we would come back in the story we would tell would probably be somewhat the same, but also different, because our experiences are different. Mm-hmm. Like, even though we're in the same situation, the same event, the same time, we look at things totally different. And he talks about this from a coaching aspect, and he says, I'll read this real quick. He says, chances are, when asked what caused your poor performance, the explanations all involve things that had happened recently before. As a coach, you see this every weekend at any high school, college, or professional meet across the country. Younger athletes assign all of their results to what occurred most recently. The days and workouts leading up are assigned the most importance. Meanwhile, they forget about skipping that summer base a few months before. Ask any coach, and we have all had that moment where our athlete approaches us after a bad race and is legitimately perplexed why. And the coach's had thoughts of, well, did you not remember all those supplemental runs you missed? or how out of shape you came in from your summer break ring through our heads. The coach, because of perspective, understands it, but the athlete simply doesn't get it. He or she is focused on how hard he's worked for the past few weeks. But that also goes for how poorly things can go. Does that make sense? Like if you have 2 terrible weeks of workouts, let's say you're going into a huge race, and your workouts have been incredible for like the last 10 months, but the last 2 weeks something's just been kind of off, and your workouts have been not as good for you. That's also going to be the lasting image, that you're not going to have a good race versus the other athlete who was probably non-existent, who didn't do as much as they should have, who thinks they're crushing it now this last month. When you look back at the past 8 months, they basically half-assed their way to get to where they are. But if they did 2 to 3 weeks of great training leading up to a race, what are they going to think? Oh, I'm going to kill it. It's a tough balance. But again, it all comes back to the story that we tell ourselves and why we tell ourselves these stories.
So as we put this maybe into an analogy form, are you talking about like...
I'm have analogies, man. You know that.
Oh, the learning, the base of learning is the analogy. So I'm just trying to understand, because I haven't read the article yet, but is it sort of like the idea of like if a coach is looking at the training that somebody maybe missed a while ago, and then the athlete may say something like, I shouldn't have ate that, fritter 2 days or yesterday or something that upset my stomach, or is that kind of thing, or?
Well, it is. It's
or I didn't sleep well last night.
It's the stories we tell ourselves, and it's how we play or how we don't participate in what I would consider the blame game.
Okay.
And it basically says, like our desire to blame is largely ego-driven. We need to protect ourselves from attacks and boost our self-concept when we succeed, but it turns out that our natural reactions tend to follow a pattern. But a lot of it also comes down to like we talk about this all the time, and I kind of alluded to it in an analogy without really planning to, was you can either be on your high horse or you can be in the manure. And that's how people go into races. They're up on the high horse, or they're down in the crap about how they think about themselves. But what they really need to do is be kind of, like I said, like kind of around the stirrups. You need never get too high and never get too low, and always take, like, we talk about this too in like so many different ways, and how people live and breathe and work and have relationships and their own jobs and professions and sports and training is like, it takes a lot of energy and honesty and openness to be really introspective. And then so you can actually learn from mistakes or failures or shortcomings. But the biggest thing is to actually learn, because so many athletes, like, people don't learn by making mistakes. They learn from learning and figuring out why and how not to make mistakes over again. Because we all know plenty of people, and we've all done this ourselves, make mistakes all the time, but we just continue to make them. So the phrase, you make mistakes and you learn from them. Well, only if you choose to learn and figure out why you made it in the first place, you don't make it again. But as athletes, and even sometimes as coaches, we fall into that, let me give you the quick answer because it's easy. And then I can just move on. But if you don't look into it hard enough, then you will never get the answer, and then you'll keep repeating the same mistakes over and over and over and over and over again. And a lot of it is having that honest conversation with yourselves of, all right, did I not meet my goal because I don't have the potential, or was it really a bad day, or was it that I made this goal in my head 12 months beforehand, but then if I look back at my training, I did for about 3 months, I didn't take things very seriously, and I just kind of loafed. And then but the last month I crushed it. Well, that doesn't mean you're going to meet it. It just means the last 3 months you've done really well.
You talking about me right there?
Yeah, I'm kind of talking about you. No, I'm just kidding. It's
No, it does. I'm being honest with myself,
but
dude.
listen, that's always been your Achilles heel.
Mm-hmm.
Is and it's not it's common. And I've got another athlete right now who like, and sometimes it's due to external factors, which is also something that I think everyone has to take into account and be realistic about. Like, you sign up for a race, then you go through like a million different life changes, and like one of this guy, like he had, I think a pet was very sick. They moved houses. Another pet unfortunately passed away, and just couldn't find the energy to do anything or to string things together. And then as things kind of settled back in and stuff, now he's on like a freaking mission. I mean, like every day he gets up and he dives deeper and deeper into the zone. So like that part of it is understandable. And it's also like something that we went back to, and I alluded to from a previous conversation with another athlete who did Maine, was that's why you can't ever take for granted the time that you have, because you don't know how much longer you're going to have it, or B, when it's going to be taken away. Because we don't ever get to choose. I think we do, but you never ever ever get to choose, and that's why so many times, like, I mean, you're a little different because you have the time and you have the freedom, but I also think that you also have to play to your strengths mentally. But a lot of it's also the story you tell yourself. I can't really hold it. I can't really be that. I can't really dive in and be focused that long because I just can't handle it because I'm getting older. You can probably handle more than you think you can.
Are you talking about me?
Now I'm talking about you.
Okay.
And so, but again, it's like so much of what is real and what is not real. But regardless of what happens, the story you tell ourselves becomes reality. So if you're somebody who tells yourself that you can't handle more, you can't do more, well, you're not going to do it. So you just created your own ending by decision, not by trial and error.
Mm-hmm. My thing is always I've always sort of been that guy, right? And you know that, and it's just sort of like I hate to say it's doing as little as possible, but always kind of looking for, in some ways I was probably one of the kind of pioneer hacky guys, like that just tries to figure out. I always try to figure out the most efficient way and whatever, and I'm just like endurance sports really never was a natural thing for me, and I think that's part of the collision too, because I was always in baseball, basketball, or hockey, kind of explosive short wind, like sprinty type stuff, and the idea of going out to run 4 hours or something was just the furthest thing from my planet. So I just it was the longest time to maybe give into that thing. But the other side of that coin was I was always sort of good at, the jumping into something a little unprepared and then using the energy of that moment and the fear of that moment not to fail. So that I think is why maybe even though I haven't been, kind of quote unquote a traditional Ironman type trainer, that I will not, I really take that personally, and it's almost like getting backed into a corner and you just got to come out swinging, and that. So, and I've talked about it before, like on race morning when, this incredible fear and, like the anticipation and all the moment and the energy get in your head and kind of can take over somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of when I'm most calm. And it's kind of like, because I talked about it before about how I feel like it's sort of like walking the plank. It's the end. It's like you got no turning back. You just have to accept what's here and go for it. And that doesn't mean it's the right way, but it's just sort of like how I see things sometimes. And it's not, I'm the guy that was in the Union cramming all night for the finals, and it came out okay because it was sort of like I don't necessarily prescribe to that anymore. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to get ahead of the game, and it's so much better to train for your Ironman 5 months ago than it is to, just sort of Rosetta Stone it the last month.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've done that before, and I think that's what really has put my, longevity at risk a lot of times, because that's what happens. And you get into these races and you can do it, but it's not necessarily on your terms. It's sort of a, jamming a square peg in a round hole and just making it work on that day. And then when you get done, you're like, geez, I don't want to ever do that again. Did you see that? Have you ever heard that second lap monkey thing?
Second lap monkey?
Yeah.
Sounds like his 80s band.
I just Nate actually sent it to me the other day. And I just wanted to read it quick because it's like, with all these people doing Wisconsin tomorrow, we got a lot of Ironmans coming up, and I just want to read it real quick. It's a quick little thing that talks about how to, what the stages of Ironman racing are. And it's pretty quick. Can I read it real quick?
You go for it, man.
The second lap monkey, and I haven't found out where he got that yet, but I'll try and find out where it came from, who wrote it and stuff. It says the purpose of the swim is to get you to the bike. The purpose of the bike is to eat for the run. The purpose of the first run lap is to put money in the bank to pay the monkey that will jump on your back on the second lap. The second lap monkey, he is very big monkey. If this is your first Ironman, you probably felt everything in your training that you will feel on race day except the second lap monkey. You can't train for that. The second lap monkey carries a big stick and its name is pain. Love it, hate it, get angry with it. Breathe it with every breath, feel it with every step, and use it. It lets you know you are still alive, more alive than most people will ever feel in their whole lives. The clock keeps ticking, and everything bad must eventually come to an end. All you have to do is keep running in a straight line until somebody tells you to stop.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, that second lap monkey thing is so, I just thought that was interesting. You can train all you want, but at some point, you're going to have to do like what I was just talking about. You're backed in the corner. There's nothing else to do. You just got to plow through it.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to fight your way out of that bag.
Well, I think, yeah, you definitely, it's not something that you can totally replicate. It's just not. It's something that, I think I sent an email out to athletes that I've got doing all the different races or whatever, and the ones that it's like kind of like it says in that passage I guess you were reading. It was that like when you want to, for me, like I tell you want to be at a point at mile 18 that you can be at so you can withstand what's about to happen from miles 18 to mile 26, because it's going to hurt. And so like the way that I lay it out is you want to start off the run, we're talking scale of 1 to 10 here. And and that's the other part that, it's like, if you're listening to this and if you're a person who only runs by pace and you have to do, like a zone stuff, it may not make sense to you, but one of the biggest reasons I like to drive into my head with the athletes is like to train by feel and RPE is that when it comes to like long course racing, so much of it is by feel. You can't trust anything except for your body and what you feel, not your watch, because there's a at the end of the day with nutrition and calories and sun and wind and heat and cold, your watch doesn't tell you any of that. It just tells you how you're moving forward. And what I tell athletes for a full is like, you want to come out of the gate, honestly, at around a 4 to 5 effort wise, max. And then by miles 8 to 12, 8 to 10, you'll probably be somewhere around a 6 to 7. But you want to make it through the first loop at like a 6 to 7 on a scale of 1 to 10. We're talking effort wise. So you're still keeping it low, and you've still got a buffer to get to like that 10, which is like that. And when I say effort, I'm talking effort, not correlated pace. And you're going to be, if you can make it to the first loop at a 6 or a 7, you're going to be in good shape. Because if you can make it to mile 18 before you, and if you're just now getting to a 10 out of 10 on pain at mile 18 to 19, 20 would be the best case scenario. But at mile 18 to 20, if you can make it that far at being at a 10, then you're in good shape. Because you can do anything for those last 6 to 8 miles. That's it. That's all you got. You can be at a 10. You can withstand that, because you're going to have to. Because let's say you start out at a 3 to 4 effort, and that gives you a 10-minute pace. Well, obviously the day's going to catch up to you at some point, the running's going to catch up to you at some point, or the temps are going to catch up to you at some point, and then by the turnaround at 13:1, to keep that and maintain that 10-minute pace, you're going to have to raise your effort level and your exertion and battling your fatigue up to like a 6 or a 7. And then by the time you get out of 18, if you even want to think about keeping it close to a 10 or a 10-15 even, you're going to have to up it to 8, 9, or a 10 by mile 18 or 20. And then at mile 20, you're just going to do your damnedest to put out every little bit of energy you have, to every ounce of everything you have, every motivational quote, every spectator, every sign, every whatever, to use that to get through the last 8. But the biggest mistake that athletes make in long course racing is they start out at a 7 or an 8. And by mile 13, they're at a 10.
Yep, and you're giving a 12.
And now you've got, and let's say you get to a 10.
It's like 110%, man.
Yeah, you got 13 left. And so your 10-minute pace, you might be able to hold for a little bit longer. You're done.
Yeah, you got nowhere to go but down.
Yeah, and so your 10's now going to, because now you can't give a 10 anymore. Now you can only give a 6 or a 5 or a 4. And guess what that 4 is going to, and guess what that 4 is going to give you? A walk, or a 13-minute, or a 15-minute, or even a sit down. And it's the last 10 to 12 miles of the Ironman run are where races are made or broken. The last 10. But you're still going to see people walking at mile 2. Some people still don't get it, or they're not patient enough, or frankly, some people just don't care, which is fine. But if you're trying to go out there and give your best performance, because that's honestly what you should be trying to do your best on that day, whatever it is, whatever time you get. If it's a 15, a 16, a making it to the midnight finish, if it's a 14, a 13, it's a 9:30 trying to get on the podium, your goal for the day is to give your best and do your best with the opportunity that you're given, because guess what? The next year you might lose your job. The next year you might get a new job that moves you cross country. You might get married. You might have a baby. Someone might get sick, and you might even get that opportunity again. And then you have to wait. And you're going to look back and you're going to think, well, shit, like I probably could have done better or gone harder or paced better. But now you're stuck. And so you want to execute to the best of your ability. And again, like some people that's not how they think, which is fine. If that's the world you live in, then keep living. But for the ones that want to execute to the best of their ability, so they can find out when they cross the finish line that this is the best that I had today. Wash out any kind of time goal, because the first thing in your mouth is going to be, well, I probably could have done this, or I wanted this, but I'm happy with, just do the best you can with the day and give it your best and be happy with your best. But in order to do that, you're going to have to be one of the very few athletes on the course. I will argue that it's less than 20% of athletes that participate in a full distance or even a 70.3 event are patient enough to know that my race really doesn't start until I get through the first loop of the marathon. Because after the swim, the first 20 miles of the bike, getting out of your saddle and crushing it on the first hill, If you're doing that, you've lost it. You've lost all objectivity of keeping things in control and playing the patience game. I used this analogy last year with a couple athletes where the Ironman race is like you want to be the wooden spoon to the pot of boiling water. You got a boiling, almost ready to overflow pot of water on the stove. And all you got to do is lay that wooden spoon, which is so weird to me still, but you can lay that wooden spoon over the top of it and it won't bubble over.
Oh, that is weird. I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? Yeah. Breaking. But but that's the feeling that people have when they toe the line in an Ironman. They have all this energy and all this excitement, all this adrenaline, and they totally just let it boil over, and then they lose it. But for a full distance event, you want to be that wooden spoon, and you don't want to take it off until the last minute, till you really, really, really have to. But you got to be committed to it, and you got to be objective. And there's been a few athletes that I've talked to this week that said, all right, pace wise, what do you want me to be? Like, I don't know. Like, you know how much of a day you've got to get to before you're going to be able to, I don't know. But what I will tell you is you can turn on your GPS watch for the first 5 miles and don't go below a certain pace. That's very conservative. And then after that, just power down your watch and let it go. Because by mile 5 or 6, you know kind of what you got to work with. Because the first 2 to 3 miles are the first 2 to 3 miles are fake news. It's your feeling. I'm feeling great, I'm about to crush it, or I'm feeling terrible, I should probably just bail it. That whole story, that whole narrative is going to change by mile 3. 30 minutes in, it's a long time. 20 minutes in, 25 minutes, 35 minutes, whatever it is, it's all going to change. So give yourself 3 miles, then give yourself 2 more miles to confirm the way that you're actually feeling and how you're going to adjust and how you can incorporate that into executing your strategy throughout the rest of the day. And then power down. Power down the tech, that's gonna prevent you from, prevent you from going faster or provide you opportunity to blow your load the first half. And then listen to your body, listen to yourself, and let it take control. Because you want to be that person that just goes with it and listens to it. And if you're an athlete that is that same athlete in training and they're like, I was supposed to go like zone 2 today, but I was killing it, and so I had to slow it down. Like, well, then you weren't like running your zone 2 feel. You were just running by what your watch was telling you. You take that same athlete at like mile 20 of the race, and like, I shouldn't be running this fast. I should probably slow it down. I'm like, dude, you got 6 miles left. Throw the hammer. Mm-hmm. You just got to let it rip, and you got to give it your best because you never know what the body's going to give you. So you just got to take what it gives you and do the best that you can with it, not just add in one more analyzing metric that's, more than likely not going to even put you in the best solution to execute. And so, and that's the major difference between power on the bike and pace, on the run. And so there's so many things you got to take into account. But listen, like, just from the time you get in the water at any race, especially long course, from the time you get in the water, every decision that you make, whether critical or it's kind of critical, I mean, they're all critical on race day, is how is this going to affect the last 5 to 10 miles of my run? And is it worth it? Is it going to yield a positive return or a negative return? And how is it going to dictate my day? And most oftentimes the answer is going to be, nah, I ain't going. Or no, I'm just going to spin it up. Or no, I'm not getting out of my saddle. Or no, I shouldn't probably try out this nutrition I've never had before in my entire life on race day. Or I see that person going and I know them and I'm faster than them, I want to beat them. All you got to tell yourself, go back to like the stories we tell ourselves, I'll see you later. Like, that should be your mantra. If you're on the bike at these courses and these races, you see somebody on the bike, especially the first 60. Even the first 80. The story you should tell yourself is, I'll see you later.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see you later.
On the run.
I'll see you later. Or even later on the bike a lot of times. I can't tell you how many
true.
times.
Yeah, those last...
I've been, especially like a course like Wisconsin that can eat your lunch if you don't pace it right. Or any course. Remember if it's flat or hill, you're rolling, whatever. The first 30 to 40, you see people just jacked out of their gourds. And listen, even if you don't see him again, it's the point to tell yourself that reaffirms your approach and your game plan is more important than what they are. Because guess what? You're only going to remember the ones you catch anyway. But it's still you're not going to listen. You're not going to finish that race and think, I raced incredible and I paced it great. But that bib number 1420, I never did quite get him.
Yeah.
That I saw at mile 30. You're never going to say that. You're going to think, man, that was incredible. I can't believe how many people I was passing the last 10 miles of the bike, or I can't believe how many people I was passing on the back half of the run. Mm-hmm. That is what gives you the motivation you need, because there is nothing better than passing people on the run. Passing someone on the bike is not permanent. There's so much left of the race to go. Passing someone on the run, unless something just catastrophic happens, is permanent. And so you just gotta keep telling yourself that. I'll see you later. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
And just be patient.
Yeah, no, I can't tell you how many times I've seen or tried to remember a bib from the bike, and I can't remember him anyway. So it doesn't matter unless you're riding with the bike twin guy, who you're always with the whole way. It's but yeah. I think that's just excellent advice, man. I mean, it's easier said than done, but the more times you think about it and hear it and work on it and stay true to it, it's just always, it's kind of like a triathlon truth.
It is.
It's like the
truth.
first thing I ever heard. It's just don't overbike. And basically, in a nutshell, that's kind of what you're saying, and then just articulating it a little bit more in detail on the run, what that means. Because that really is the essence a lot of times.
Yep, I agree.
Cool. All right, man. Well, let's wrap this one up, and I'll get up to Madison to start going to work and give some feedback on what's going on up there. Give you some live looks and some pictures from the scene. We've heard a lot of the...
Yeah, let me know how things are going so I can pass it along.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll shoot you a text. Let me know if I can get with you tomorrow.
Okay. That sounds great. All right, thanks for tuning in. This is the Crushing Iron Podcast. crushingiron.com is the spot to check out all the things we do. Come on in the closed group, Crushing Iron group on Facebook. And that's about it, right?
That's it. Podcast 195 in the books.
It's at 196, brother.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oof.
196.
Undersell, over-deliver.
Yep. And we will, as I said, I'll be in Madison all weekend. Give me a shout if you're racing. I'll be kind of hanging around right around the Capitol the whole time. So Facebook message me, whatever, if you want to connect and see if we can make that happen.
Sweet deal, man. Tell your mama I said hey.
I will.
All right, dude. Talk to you later.
All right, buddy. See ya.
See ya.